In the busy streets of Nairobi, crimes such as theft, robbery, pickpocketing, and conmanship are not uncommon. It's undeniable that some parts of the city are dealing with the challenge of insecurity. The fact is that Nairobi is a city filled with endless opportunities, but for a good number of people, it's also a place where their dreams clash with the harsh realities of life. Countless youths today are struggling against socio-economic challenges such as unemployment, and without adequate support systems around them, some of them fall prey to criminality. Today, we will look at the story of a young Nairobian lady who got herself entangled in a dangerous life of crime. This is the story of Esther Wambui Wanjiko, better known as Bobo Shanty. This girl seemed like any ordinary young lady in Nairobi, but unfortunately, she would go on to make very questionable life choices that would lead her down the wrong path. A path that would cost her her precious life. Welcome back to the Crime Gist. My name is Damisa. Esther Wambui Wanjiko is believed to have been born in November 1999 in Nairobi's Mathare constituency. Mathare is a region that is characterized by a vibrant culture, but also significant socio-economic challenges. She grew up in a single-parent household, raised solely by her mom. They lived in a 2-bedroom flat in Mathare, where Esther would be raised together with her younger sister. Despite her struggle of raising the kids on her own, their mom worked tirelessly to provide for her family. Esther attended a local primary school in Mathare constituency. However, as she entered her teenage years, the pressures of hardships back at home, coupled with peer pressure, began to take their toll. She began hanging out with not-so-good kids. Most of them were her neighbors, those she grew up with in Mathare. A lot of these kids were not even attending school, having dropped out along the way. And since they often didn't have much to do at home, they found themselves roaming the streets and just being idle for most of their days. This then led them to doing drugs and petty crimes such as theft and engaging in gang activities. That they found to be a way to make easy money. As she transitioned from primary to secondary school, Esther found herself being increasingly drawn into a world that was far removed from her academics. She had great admiration for the life that her friends were living, and this fascination of the street life began to overshadow her studies. She got pregnant before she was able to finish her high school studies and gave birth to a beautiful baby girl she named Leilani. Her baby's father did not accept the responsibility, thus forcing Esther to carry the burden alone. She had no job or income at the time, so her mom offered to help her raise Leilani as she tried to get on her 2 feet. As time went on, Esther got a job at a hair salon. She was very skilled at doing hair. At the same time, her childhood friends were already introducing her to the street life. By now, they were already deep into gang activities, drugs, and all forms of criminality. To the outside world, Esther looked like an ordinary girl. She often did TikToks and showcased her love for fashion. She loved to party hard as well. Beyond her love for style and fashion, Esther harbored a passion for football. She was an ardent supporter of the Manchester United team. Nobody would have guessed that, in hindsight, she was involving herself in very risky business. Her reputation first took a hit in December 2023 when she was accused of stealing 20,000 Kenyan shillings and a phone from a man she had met at a club. The man had gone home with Esther after a night out, but while he was asleep, Esther took his phone and transferred 20,000 to herself before fleeing with his phone as well. This incident gained traction on social media platforms after a friend of the victim shared the unfortunate story online. Efforts were made to locate Esther, but ultimately they were unsuccessful. By the year 2024, she was rumored to be dating one of her thug friends known as Frederick Kopo. Kopo was from Kiamaiko in Huruma, still in Mathare constituency. He was known in the neighborhood as Babashania or Freak. This guy was said to be a dangerous man, notorious for stealing and for violent robberies. The long arm of the law had not yet caught up with him. Esther and Freak were also good friends with another one of their childhood friends known as Jaylan Kibe. Kibe had grown up just 2 houses away from Esther's. These were all people who had grown up in similar socio-economic conditions. They were united by shared experiences of hardship and a desire to change that, gain wealth and respect within their community. Esther must have felt that this new world offered a sense of belonging and excitement that she craved. As she became more entrenched into it, it becomes evident as she's captured in some videos indulging in drug taking and other questionable behavior. Over time, Esther found herself caught up in a cycle that seemed impossible to escape. Her role had evolved from an innocent participant to an active member, just as their criminal activities had escalated from petty thefts to more serious offenses like armed robberies. They were now targeting businesses and individuals who were perceived as easy marks. On March 30th, 2024, the group planned what would become their most infamous robbery. In the streets of Isli, 26-year-old Adan Ali Mohammed, a well-known Somali businessman, was going about his day. That mid-morning, his employer sent him to deposit a large sum of money in the bank. He was handed 3.9 million Kenyan shillings, which he secured and put in a green shopping bag. The money was from a few days of oil sale. Aidan left BBS Mall in Isli and headed towards the bank. Being a Saturday, most banks in the country are usually only open for a half day. On reaching the bank, Aidan, who was a few minutes late, found it already closed, and so he decided to head back to BBS Mall. For his convenience, he opted to go back on a motorbike. All this time, he was unaware that some thugs had set their eyes on him and he was being trailed. A CCTV camera nearby would capture everything in the moments that followed. Along Moratina Road in Isli, just a few minutes from the BBS Mall entrance, a motorbike rider carrying a male passenger is seen speeding past the motorbike that Aidan had taken. That bike stopped right in front of him, blocking his way. The assailant is seen alighting and making his way to Aidan's motorbike. He then demands for Aidan to hand him the bag of cash he was carrying. When Aidan hesitates, he is shot at close range in the neck, falling off the motorcycle. His rider remains very confused as the gunman grabs the green bag full of cash and flees in the waiting motorbike. In the bag was the 3.9 million Kenyan shillings he was meant to deposit in the bank. A crowd quickly gathers. Everyone is in shock at what they have just witnessed, not believing that this happened in broad daylight. They check on Aidan and find that he is alive before rushing him to the nearby Health Gate Hospital. The doctors there said that the bullet had gone in through the neck and exited at the back, thus damaging his spine. Meanwhile, the police had a task ahead of them to look for these robbers. They began with the CCTV footage. Unfortunately, the bike's plates were not captured on the footage, but the surveillance captured the suspects, although not so clearly. With proper investigations, it wouldn't be so hard for law enforcement to identify them. In the days that followed the robbery, the police launched an extensive manhunt for the gunman and his accomplices. But having made away with such a huge sum, the gang was obviously going to spend their hard-earned money. This had been by far their most significant crime. But instead of laying low for a while, knowing that they were being hunted, the group decided to spoil themselves silly. This decision would turn out to be their own undoing. They decided that they needed to buy a car. Having a car would help them greatly, even with future robberies and heists. And so on Wednesday, April 3rd, just 4 days after the robbery, Esther, together with Frederick Kopo or Frick, and Jaylan Kibe left for Mombasa in search of a car. I know you already caught on to the fact that these were the suspected robbers in the Eastleigh incident. It was believed that Esther, or Bobo Shanty, was the one that spied on the Somali businessman and informed her crime partners Frick and Jaylan. Frick was said to be the shooter, while Jaylan was a suspected getaway rider. Now, here they were, in the process of buying a car with the proceeds of their crime. In Mombasa, they went yard to yard looking for a car that would best suit them. Finally, they found one that they seemed interested in. But as they were about to start negotiations, they were approached by 3 men. These 3 men discouraged them from rushing into buying the car, saying that they knew a place with a much better deal for the same kind of car. Esther and her group agreed to follow them to that place. However, as soon as the group left the yard, Esther, Frick, and Jaylan were bundled into a waiting car. And that would be the last time that these 3 would be seen alive. Days later, the 3 would come up dead when their bodies were discovered in various parts of Nairobi and Kiambu counties. On 4th of April 2024, Frick's body was found in a thicket in Lari near the viewpoint in Kiambu County. He was badly injured with one missing eye and a broken leg. Detectives probing the Eastleigh incident placed him at the scene of the shooting, claiming that he was the one who pulled the trigger that seriously injured Aidan. A few days later, his accomplice Jaylan Kibe's body was found at City Mortuary. On 8th of April 2024, a third body, that of Esther or Bobo Shanty, was discovered in Juja and also taken to the City Mortuary. It was a mystery how the 3 ended up in Nairobi and Kiambu counties when they had last been seen in Mombasa. And so, speculations began to hit the internet. It was suspected that the police must have killed the 3 friends. The robbery in Eastleigh, followed by the tracing of the 3 in Mombasa days later, seemed like police work. When the autopsy reports on the 3 came out, it showed that they had died of strangulation. The Kenya Human Rights Commission condemned the deaths of the 3, saying that if the police believed that they were involved in the shooting incident, they could have arrested them and charged them in court. This statement seemed to show that they were also suspecting the police of being involved in the murders of the 3. But to date, the true identity of whoever trailed and killed the 3 remains unknown. As for the 3.9 million shillings they had stolen, that disappeared into oblivion. It was believed that the killers made away with the money. Esther was laid to rest on Thursday, April 18, 2024, in Kandara, Murang'a County. Some attendees reflected on how different things could have been if only she had taken another path or found support earlier on. Jaylan Kibe was laid to rest very quickly in Karioko Cemetery following Muslim customs. Information on the final resting place of Frederick Kopo is not available in public sources. As for Aidan, the primary victim in all this mess, it was determined that he had sustained a spinal cord injury when the bullet exited through his back. However, he was discharged from Healthgate Hospital when his condition became stable. He is very lucky to be alive to tell his story. Esther's life illustrates how easily one can slip into bad decisions when surrounded by negative influences. We need guidance or mentorship to give our youths hope for brighter futures ahead. The government should also engage positively with young people and provide resources necessary to empower them. But above all, the young people in Kenya need to take personal responsibility. We need to make better choices rather than falling prey to temptations offered through crime. Crime never pays, but you know what does? Education, discipline, and hard work. So let's all make better and informed decisions when it comes to our lives. Let's not be fueled by greed and the promise of quick money. Lastly, The issue of police brutality and extrajudicial killings is also a matter that needs to be addressed. These acts of violence by the police need to stop. If truly the 3 young people were killed by the police, then it's very unfortunate because that's not a country that anyone would be proud of. We want the law to be respected by everyone, and the police are no exception. That brings us to the end of today's episode. I'd really like to hear your thoughts on this story down below. Also, please don't forget to subscribe, to like, and to share this episode with other true crime junkies like yourself. I'll see you right here on the next one.